Hey there, sports fans. Paul Snyder here, programming coordinator for Northwest Access TV, starting up a new show on our airwaves. It's called Huddle Up, as you can see from our lovely animation just a couple seconds ago. It's a new sports live talk show, call-in show as well. The phone number, 527-6449. I am your host. I also have another host with me, my buddy, JT, here with me. Thanks, JT, for joining us on this new debut of a live sports talk show.
Not a problem whatsoever. Should be fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can intrigue a few people.
Just a few people to argue with what we have to say, so we can.
Well, that's not too hard.
No, not too hard at all. Yeah, no, at all. Just to give you guys a little background about JT and me, we met about, I want to say almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Just through a mutual friend, lost touch for about 9 years, and then eventually we got in touch again through softball here in St. Albans, which is really cool. We've been hanging out ever since and continue that. So
the joys of Vermont in a small state where
right.
You're bound to bump into somebody you know. Yeah, I mean we go way back and lots of interesting times, and both played sports together as well. I mean, we went out and played basketball quite a bit.
Yeah, we played basketball, throw the football around type of thing. Now we play in flag football league in St. Albans.
Yeah, if you don't know about that yet already, the St. Albans Rec Department does have a flag football program that we're doing. It's Sunday mornings, 10
o'clock.
10 to 11:30,
10 to 11 or 30, whenever we all start to pass out a
We get
little
tired
bit.
quick. We're a little old.
Right. When you get 3-on-3 and everyone running up and down a 50-yard field.
Yeah,
you
our
get
days
tired
of
real quickly.
15 are long gone.
Right. But yeah, John and I recently reconnected through softball in St. Albans, and go figure, we hadn't seen each other before that in about 9 years. We live 2 streets away now, so small world, really, small community.
Very, very small.
Reached out to John just a couple weeks ago. I said, hey, what if we had a live sports talk show? Because every time we get together to watch football or
Yep.
or we're on the football field rather, I mean, we're just constantly going at it and talking about different
sports
topics in
never
sports.
ends.
Right.
Sports never ends.
That's the best part. And it ends one day out of the year, and I think it's the day after the All-Star break in Major League Baseball. There's literally no sports going on.
Which is a sin. That shouldn't happen.
Right. There's WNBA, but I don't get those channels. So, so we wanted to kind of spruce up a little bit of our public access station here with a today look on sports in general, whether it's topics, fantasy football. John is a fantasy football guru. He's helped me win a couple weeks in my league. It's the only weeks I've won in my league. But, just something to kind of give people something to do, I guess, from 4 to 5 when you're pretending to actually work and you're really just playing on your Facebook or Twitter or something like that.
I mean, pretty much 3:30. I mean, your workday is pretty much going to be winding down.
Right.
So nothing better to do. You might as well talk about
Yeah.
sports.
And you can do that also online. If you happen to come across us at all, you can go to northwestaccess.tv and you can click the little watch button in the top right-hand corner. That'll bring you right to our YouTube channel. You can watch us live every Wednesday from 4 to 5. There are a couple holidays coming up that might interfere with that, but other than that, we'll be here 4 to 5 every Wednesday. So welcome to anyone who's watching. And also, this is a call-in show, 527-6449. You can give us a call at any time and talk sports. That's what we're here for.
Amen.
So that's kind of an introduction about the show. It's a little background about us. So let's get into a couple of the national topics that we figured we would bring. We're going to also talk a little local as well.
Yep.
Football just wrapped up. Some of the national talk which I thought would be relevant, is you got the Patriots and the Dolphins playing tomorrow, one of 5 undefeated teams that are currently left here in the NFL. What do you see as like the future, the near future or way future end of the season to where these 5 teams are going to be?
Well, today's day of age, it's pretty hard to go through the NFL season unbeaten. Trying to beat up on these teams, and I mean, at the end of the day, the NFL, every team has good players, and it only takes 1 week to surprise somebody by those teams that aren't known for being that great to really play well together.
I honestly thought that was going to be the case for the Patriots on Sunday. It's just the way that the games were playing out. Could the Jets get a run game going? No, but their passing was pretty darn good.
Oh, absolutely. And I think with the Patriots, now, minus fans, I'm sorry, I'm not a Patriots fan. I do apologize. You can never count the Patriots out for going undefeated because their team is very dynamic. They are a very gifted passing team, but they can also be a very gifted running team when they choose to be.
When they choose to be. I mean, what was it, 90% of their plays were passing?
Yeah, and I mean, what makes them interesting is not only are they capable of being a very fantastic running team, you never know which running back's getting the ball.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah, White, is that his name? That was for the Patriots,
Yep.
where honestly, I saw him run with the ball, and I'm thinking, oh, there goes Lewis. I'm like, wait, that's not Lewis. Who is this guy?
You never know week to week. I mean, think of it fantasy football wise. You go from do I start Blunt or do I start
Deion Lewis,
Deion
or
Lewis
White or something like that.
Or White, who's just now coming into the picture. But that was the same game last year. I mean, one week it was Gray, the next week it was somebody else, and Blunt came in, and you never knew.
Right.
And what makes them so challenging with that is because they don't do it every game. So you just might happen to hit them that week that they're just going to slam that ball down your throat, and they're good at it. They have a great offensive line, which is why Brady doesn't get hit that often. He throws the ball super, super quick, and they can never back off the receivers, so eventually they're going to break the runs through.
Yeah, it's so funny because you got 31 other coaches in the NFL that also don't know what the Patriots are going to do, and then you have millions of fantasy football players, or people that are trying to figure out, do I start Blount or do I start Lewis? Guess what? The 32 people, coaches in the NFL that are trying their hardest to beat the Patriots, they don't even know what to do.
No.
So I mean, and it's evident. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that they don't. I'm just saying, like, it's so far, proof's in the pudding. So far this season, they don't know what to do against this team.
No, and you look into history, and really nobody has an answer for Bill Belichick. I mean, he is a fantastic coach. He's extremely brilliant. Last week and this week are going to be. Last week was a true test to him. The Jets are not that great of a team. They're really not. They have a really good defense. They have a good running back who New England just shut out.
Well, they're 4-2 this year now, the Jets.
Yep.
So I mean, but look who they've also played.
Exactly.
They've beaten. It's not a true testament to their record.
The talent is there, but this week is going to be a really interesting week for them. Not only for them, but also for Miami. Miami is a team who came into the season thinking they were a Super Bowl contender to just playing awful.
And they went out and bought those types of players as well.
Exactly. And so then they fire their head coach. Nothing's going right. They come back and they just exploded.
Yeah,
I mean, their entire offense.
2-0 under their interim head coach right now.
Their rushing is well over 100 yards a game. Their passing is over 300 yards a game. Ryan Tannehill's throwing 3 or 4 touchdowns a game at this point.
He was almost perfect, I believe, in his attempts, right?
Almost completely. I think he missed 5 or 6, I want to say.
Right, but it's great for a quarterback like him, where you've heard his name for so long, where he's the next big thing. That's your next AFC East champion, is Ryan Tannehill. In just the few years, he hasn't really shown that.
Yeah, I mean, they are very dynamic. They have Lamar Miller could be the next big running back. He absolutely could. He's the last 2 weeks have completely he's stepped up. A lot of people have high hopes for him, and I think he looks very good. He's very agile. He's got good side skills. He might need to use north-south a little bit more, but what running back in the NFL doesn't? But then their wide receivers, they're fast, they're young, they're talented. They're an interesting team.
Yeah, they have the talent for sure. And I think that, look, what you're saying with this head coach, you've just become the head coach 2 weeks ago. Now you've got 3 days to prepare for one, if not the greatest coach in NFL history. I mean, that's a lot to put on your shoulders.
It is, and I think.
But coming off that win, this past weekend, they were in London or they weren't in London? No, that wasn't this weekend.
Was London last?
I don't remember what was London. Regardless, they won pretty big. They won huge. So coming off that win, you really have to put that aside and say, okay, now we're going to Foxborough.
You do, but there are a couple things to put into play there. I think personally, I think of myself, if you look at it from a GM aspect, and I'm going to say, hey, your third game in, you're playing Bill Belichick and the Patriots. I'm not going to expect you to figure out how to prep for that game.
Right.
Any coach that they're going to hire is going to have knowledge to do so, and I'm not trying to take that away in any way. But I think the way you look at it with that is, don't focus on the Patriots. The Patriots are going to put up points. You're not going to stop them. They're going to do it. The only thing that I think they have to focus on is putting up their own. Mm-hmm. That's how you beat the Patriots.
Well, you got to go out there, play your own game. I know that's just kind of that's the phrase, if you will. But keeping Brady off the field has shown that's kind of what the opponent should be doing.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of the bread and butter for most teams. You saw the Jets, they were on that field for a good percentage of the game and did pretty well. Couple blunders here and there, but I mean, they kept Brady off the field. Offense can't get anything going, and you're seeing that. It's like, okay, they got a field goal. They went punt, field goal, or something like that to that effect. Last game, something that, I mean, I think a couple of their games this year, they haven't punted at all.
No.
They get that offense rolling, and it's not stopped.
No, it's not. And the thing you look at with the Patriots is Tom Brady going to be the best, if not one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game as of till now. And the people that he has around him, you have Rob Gronkowski, who personally I say just throw the ball to him every time because you're bound to win with it.
Right.
There's not a defender in the league.
I feel like they don't utilize him enough, though, right?
No, they don't. Which
not this year. Not this year, anyway. I mean, he's set records. Let's put that out there. But I'm saying that this year, it seems as if he's making these 2 or 3 great plays, and I'm not even going to count the one that was his touchdown last game because that's a Brady check down. Play in your pocket. He knew it was coming. Throw to an open Gronk. An open Gronk isn't what impresses me.
No.
I want to see him rolling through people, or there's a pick play here somewhere. But I feel like they're not using him enough.
I have not seen him in many pick plays where he's going to be that receiver, which is odd to me because he is so big and so powerful. You're not going to tackle him in the open field. And the other
Which
thing
was
I
evident
don't
last game too.
Yeah, I don't think they're using him enough down. Where's his straight shot to the end zone? Why isn't he getting these 40,
you got
50
this
yard
guy
bombs?
he's 6'7", I think, 6'7", and when he can jump, he's just adding feet.
Oh, yeah.
To that radius of where he can catch that ball. And I'm surprised we're not seeing more of that. You see a lot of the fades to the corner type of thing with him, but I mean they always seem to be the ball's overthrown or it's not even close.
Yeah.
I would like to see more of him in like a post pattern where he's going deep, but maybe it takes him too long to get there.
Which that could be, but I look at the way he's playing right now, and I kind of see I see Gronk really more of Antonio Gates to Phillip Rivers. He is that golden goose for the red zone, and he's always going to be your check down. But within time, Phillip Rivers has games where he'll throw to Antonio Gates nonstop, and it's all down the field, down the field. And same thing with Brady to Gronk. And then there's games where they just don't do it at all.
Yeah, they don't connect at all.
And that is odd to me. Now, minus, again, you have to look at the other receivers that they have. Edelman, extremely talented, very fast, can jump, and he's a little guy. Very gifted. Danny Amendola.
Edelman 2.0 on that same team. You got these 2 slot guys. One's acting as as of right now, I know LaFell is getting healthy. He's back on the practice. He's back from for the practice squad and everything, and ready to get back in there. He had a lot of drops this last game, but you can attribute that to rust.
Yep.
He's going to be. He's likely going to be your number 1 wide receiver. I'm not taking anything away from Edelman or Gronk, but LaFell is that downfield threat.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's who you want. Edelman is going to be your over-the-top, underneath guy. And that's what Edelman's kind of been in that role of wide receiver number 1 with Amendola as that slot guy. So you kind of have these 2 ridiculously gifted slot guys, a deep downhill threat in LaFell that once he gets the rust, shaken off, will be that. And then you still have like Chandler and Gronk.
Yeah.
That are just. It's funny to say, oh, we got these 3 guys. Oh yeah, and then there's Gronk.
Yeah. I mean, again, you think about LaFell, who is a very gifted player, and once that rust comes off, he should light it up much more. And he not only is a distraction for the defense, which is kind of funny to say because you look at the Patriots receivers and tight ends and you're going, there's no one I can double cover.
Right.
You can't double any of these guys, which makes them such a threat. But I think the person in their lineup that's going to have the most to gain or to lose is Amendola. And the reason why is he's a player who came into the league. He was supposed to be the next big wide receiver. There's times where you can see it in him, and then there's times where he just doesn't look all there. He doesn't look like he's putting in that 110%.
He's getting hit like it, but I know I see what you mean. I know what you mean.
And I think with LaFell coming back healthy, it should be an interesting switch to see where people end up. I kind of expect to see Edelman come a little bit more under the slot, and I expect to see Amendola kind of wide out a little bit more.
Right.
And I think that's going to change game to game depending on who they're going against.
I know a lot of people have said that, LaFell, he dropped like 6 passes or something like that. And they're like, oh, if he's not ready, don't put him in there. Why was he even in there to start? And my whole thing is like, you think he dropped 6 passes now, think about how many targets they threw to him. They probably threw about like 8 or 9 passes to him. They're only going to throw to him more.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of targets for a wide receiver that just came off, the PUP list to be able to, to go into that game and get thrown to that many times. It's going to happen like that every game. That's something that Belichick has done before, where as someone's come off injury, they go right to him.
Yeah. Well, because he's that questionable guy. You know, it's whether or not, is he perfectly healthy? Probably not. But is he good enough to play? Absolutely. He just has to get the rust off his hands. I mean, you can look at any receiver in this league. Calvin Johnson, known for dropping passes. Julio Jones, the big wideout this year. He drops 1 million balls a game. You can't focus on the drop passes. I mean, that comes with time. It comes with getting your rhythm back and getting your confidence back. I mean, they talk every game about...
And it's that connection with the quarterback as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Something that Brady went into saying, and he's never going to blame the other person. This is the kind of person he is. But he's like, I threw one low, I threw one high, I threw one to the side. If I'm getting it a little bit, towards his breadbasket at least, those are first downs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a very unique game. Playing on Thursday, short week, puts another whole new aspect onto it. But as a betting person, I got to take Miami. I really do.
It has that look too. I mean, and I don't even want to call it a trap game because Miami can be a very talented team. But I mean, they're going to Foxborough. It's a short week. You have an interim coach. You have a quarterback that seems like he's back to where he originally was. Yeah. So I'm curious to see if if they can keep the Patriots off, keep that offense off the field, then maybe you'll have something there. But when you have someone like Brady that is they could throw 60 times a game, can that defense withstand that?
I think they can. I think that team has enough weapons offensively to match it. I don't think they're going to keep Brady off the field. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I think it could be a very interesting game to watch with lots of action, lots of big plays. But Miami's dangerous. Am I going to say a surefire that Miami's going to beat New England? Absolutely not. Would I bet New England over Miami? I wouldn't do that either. But your dark horse is going to be Miami. Miami can put points on that board. And I think New England's going to have a hard time stopping them, which, again, like I said, is Miami's going to have a hard time stopping Brady as well. So I think it's just going to be that shootout game. It's going to go down to the fourth quarter just like the Jets game did. And I think it should be a lot of fun to watch. Yeah,
I mean, as a Patriots fan, I am nervous about Thursday just because that Miami team hasn't really proven themselves throughout the year with who they've beaten, but they've kind of done it one-handedly, single-handedly. So, I mean, that's what kind of gets me a little nervous. The fact that it's a short week, they're still in Foxborough, I think that crowd there will amp up a little bit. It's no 12th man out in Seattle, but it's that atmosphere. It's Brady at home. It's these guys that didn't have to travel anywhere. They finished their game up with the Jets, and they're back to work, Sunday night, Monday morning in their same stadium. They don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to do that. Miami, on the other hand, they're coming up to New England. So, I mean, it's crazy. And the one thing I wanted to chat about was, are these short weeks, are they even a good thing? Are they a good thing for NFL? Because you get these games. I mean, Miami and New England, they finished at 4 o'clock, 4:30 on Sunday, and they're expected to go in 3 days. And anyone will say, oh, they're getting paid all millions of dollars. Why can't they get ready? But football is a different kind of sport. It's not baseball. It's not every day. It's not hockey every couple days.
I can tell you, as a sports fan, as a football fan, I love having Thursday night football.
Sure.
Don't want to argue that.
But I'm thinking more in the lines of like, should it be the team coming off the bye should be the ones playing the short week? You have 4 teams almost every week.
I think the biggest downfall of the Thursday night games, that short week for players, is your injury risk. You don't have a full week of healing. You don't have a full week of getting your body to kind of come back and be 100% again. And I feel like you see a lot of those big injuries on Thursday night games, and that has to play part of that.
Right.
But I think for preparation-wise, I think if you're a West Coast team playing an East Coast team on a short week, that can't happen. For Miami to come up, it's a short trip. It's a 3-hour flight. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, you're not changing time zones type of thing. I get that. It just seems wrong in a sense where these teams are playing, 90 something hours later. And I think that's what confuses me is if I were to do it, you have your Thursday night game. The week before they were on a bye, so they're not playing that Sunday. They're prepping that entire week and a half for the Thursday night game, and then they play again the following week and a half.
Yeah.
So kind of get that, and I know that the scheduling must be a nightmare. Okay. I mean, I don't think it's obviously not logisms and all that kind of stuff. It's
well,
these
think
guys
about
that
how
are
hard
actually
it is for us to do fantasy drafts.
Well, exactly.
It's
like,
hard enough to
yeah,
do that.
exactly. You got people, 8 people in a room, 10 people in a room, and everyone's ripping each other's heads off, and that's just picking players. I can only imagine what it's like. Okay, these teams got to match up with these ones. Then you have to make sure that divisions are playing each other a certain amount of times, and this division is facing this division this year. They're facing each other at least once. So I understand the scheduling can be a headache. I guess I'm getting into. I just don't see it right that a team that's playing so close to that Thursday night game. And I guess that's just my thinking on it, is I don't think the short week is good. I'm going to love it if the Pats win on Thursday, and then great, they got a week and a half to get ready for Washington Redskins, where it's almost like another bye week for most teams. They're not playing very well this year, so the Pats can go in there and again, they're at home. They're at home for 3 straight games between the Jets, Miami, and Washington. So I like that situation as long as the Pats win on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean the short week for football, as a fan, like I said, you gotta love it. I mean, any night that they're gonna put an NFL game on, I'm more than happy. As a player, when I was younger, I can see some challenges in it, but I think those challenges play into part for both teams, and it's equally fair. I would agree with you that if you could make it those short or that Thursday night game be teams coming off byes. That would be great, because that gives them that opportunity to truly prep for it, and to heal and to be prepared.
And at the same time, obviously you wouldn't be able to do it the entire year. Usually buys end around like the week 10 or 11 or something like that. And they don't usually start up, I think, till week 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So you'd have a couple weeks of like, okay, these teams are going to have to duke it out. They're going to have to play on short rest. But I think if you were able to schedule that, you get better football games at the same time. People are healthy. People are mentally ready to play a game.
I completely agree.
After a week, and then you don't get these lopsided wins or lopsided loss. Maybe you get a little more competition from the teams if they have a week and a half to actually rest and prep.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree. I think there are a lot of things that they could do to better the situation, and I think the big thing for them is between prep and injuries is people got to get healthy, and that short week is hard.
Right.
And these guys make a lot of money for what they do. They want to be on that field, and they want to put up records. They want to put up numbers, and so for them, if they're not 100%, they're still going to go, and that's where you're playing.
And that's and that's what I was saying earlier, is that these guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars to be able to do this. So I mean, can you really sympathize with them a little bit? Probably not.
Yeah.
Because they're making that much money. Speaking of like travel and things like that, you have another international game this Sunday between, I'm already forgetting who they are. I think it is Miami. No, that's Detroit and Kansas City.
Yeah.
They're going up to London. I'm not so much worried about Detroit and Kansas City. I'm not worried about the matchup. I'm more questioning these international games. This will be the third one so far this year. I get the NFL is in it for the money.
Yeah.
It's more than clear. We're trying to make an international brand, and we want to reach out to as many people as possible. Are they the right kind of football fans they're looking for? No, they're looking for soccer. The soccer fans overseas are who you're trying to grab, and the rugby fans to try and say, hey, look, American football, it's in your hometown. We're broadening our region past the United States. But as a American football fan, in America, I'm thinking these games are terrible. I mean, I feel like the matchups even aren't that good. Do I love waking up at 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday, right out of bed? Great, I get to watch some football? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when I'm waking up to Kansas City and Detroit, I'm like, okay, what was the other? Buffalo and Miami? Was it them that went out? Or the Jets in Buffalo? They went to London a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, these games are like, why wouldn't the NFL amp it up? If you want to get that international grab, why wouldn't you ramp up these teams? And
put Tom Brady out there with Peyton Manning. There you go.
I mean,
put that overseas.
You got overseas headlines at that point. I mean, and if you were to have something like Seattle and the Patriots overseas, you've got recent Super Bowl contenders, at least teams that are fresh in other people's mind. When you get someone like Kansas City and Detroit going over there, I'm sure that people know who some of these teams are if they're the fans of football, but did they really want to spend all that money overseas to go see Kansas City and Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, I think of the out-of-country games are a little interesting. I will say that the fact they only broadcasted it last week on Yahoo was the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life.
The first one they did, I believe, on CBS.
They did.
CBS.
How the NFL could benefit from just doing it online.
And this week it'll be on Fox.
Yes.
So.
I mean, I'm all for posting stuff online, but you got to post it in both places. Just like our TV show, you got to put it in both places.
Right.
People got to see it in different ways. But I think they really lost a large market of people who would have watched a game just because, hey, football's on at 9:30. But they couldn't because you have to either watch it on your computer or hook your computer up to the TV. That's just a pain in the butt. But I think with not only the matchups overseas are always awful. It's never really that game where you're going, ooh, I got to watch that. No, you're watching that probably because you have fantasy players in it, and that's about it.
Right, and I think a few years ago, I can't remember, the Patriots played like the Rams or something like that. I don't remember but they smoked them. And then like Minnesota, when they didn't quarterback, they have Adrian Peterson, great, that's a showstopper, a few years ago. But they were playing someone else that was like, who are they playing? And you have these stadiums overseas. Wembley Stadium, I think it holds over 100-something thousand people, towering over the number of people that an NFL stadium can hold. But you got these teams that come in that it's like they're so lackluster, and you maybe have one star on each one. I mean, Kansas City. Kelsey? I don't know. The tight end? I mean, who would? I mean,
Macklin off concussion,
right?
maybe.
Macklin, right. You have Detroit. I mean, you have Megatron, but I mean, you have no one throwing to him in Stafford that's gonna get those 100,000 plus people off their seats and cheering. You know what I mean? Not like soccer, not like rugby would overseas.
No,
cricket even.
I think the NFL kind of did a shot in the dark of not only trying to get more people to watch American football. I think of it also in an aspect of, hey, you bring our game over there, maybe we might get some more foreign people who want to play football, and they'll come over and try a different sport. There's all sorts of different ways to think about it. I think NFL is one of those games that you don't hear about all those foreign people being in to play. Unlike soccer and baseball and basketball, where it's all over the place. I mean, people could be from anywhere. And I think that might be part of why they're trying to do it. Obviously, it's about money. I mean, you're getting more people to pay to watch games.
No, the NFL's not stupid in any way. Like,
no.
They're in it for the money. I think they have usually something going on. I think my buddies and we kind of figured it out. It was like 10 out of 12 months, something in the NFL is going on between combine, draft, the end of college football season as well, where you're starting to talk about these players.
Yep.
And then you have spring training, you have OTAs, you have all these, and then the season, the preseason, you have all these types of, the Pro Bowl, the Super Bowl. It spans over like 10 of 12 months. They're not stupid in any way. They're making money any way they can, and I get they're trying to fill their pockets a little bit with international, because if it can boost some jersey sales or anything over there, or some ticket sales, good for them, because they're literally, I mean, Wembley Stadium, I don't know what the deal is with them, but it's probably one of those things where they signed a contract and the NFL is like, all right, we're coming in, we're bringing in all our stuff. We're also leaving with all our money, type of thing. So I wish that they would kind of ramp up the matchups a little bit to get people back home, because that's your bread and butter. That's your people here are where your money is driven. I get you're trying to grab some heads over there, but if you want us to get excited for that 9:30, Yahoo website, game, put someone in there that I'm actually going to want to watch.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, their matchups every year have been absolutely dreadful.
I can't really even imagine. I can't remember watching an entire game unless, I think the Pats have been over a couple times since in the last decade or so, and I've definitely watched the entirety of those games. But that's because I'm a fan.
Yep.
But I mean, you want to get everyone involved you want some of these Sunday night, Thursday night matchups we've seen that are that are fun to watch. They're going to be back and forth.
I mean, right now, as a fan watching, I think the only time I'm really focusing on a game that's overseas is fantasy-wise.
Right.
I'm watching a player play, and that's about it.
Which is another
Outside of that-
multi-million-dollar,
Oh, absolutely.
organization,
I mean,
program.
the matchups just are weak, and I'll watch football if it's on and I have nothing to do, just because it's football. But I mean, there's so much they could do to really boost that and make it a lot more fun. I mean, we all want to see our teams route somebody out. By all means, we love watching it. But when I want to watch a good football game, I want to watch Peyton Manning and Tom Brady go toe-to-toe in a good game, which is never going to happen again. Peyton's done.
No.
But that's regardless. I want to watch Seattle. I want to watch Big Ben when he comes back and that Steelers offense that just can light it up. Buffalo, a kind of unique team that has that talent there if they can kind of get on the same page and have a quarterback that's healthy. There's a lot of good teams out there. If you match them out well, it'd be a lot of fun to watch.
Right.
Give me two teams that will bomb the ball down the field.
Yeah, I want to say that at halftime for one of the international games, it was like 3-0 or 3-3 or something like that. And it's like, wow, that you just got a lot of people excited for a first half. It's like, no, I just don't see it.
No.
That's just one of the things that we're getting into. But you kind of, we mentioned the Patriots a little bit before. And we mentioned the Broncos with Peyton Manning. One of the other, that's team 2 of 5 that are undefeated this year. Everyone is saying Peyton Manning is done. And I mean that you're talking NFL analysts, ESPN, Yahoo. Everyone is saying that this is the worst looking 6-0 team they've ever seen.
No, it is. And I love Peyton Manning. I've watched him my entire life. And when you watched him play at the start, first off, let me go to the point that the fact John Fox is no longer there, you fire a guy who led this team several times. Why would you do that?
Not only that, but you also led him with a guy named Tim Tebow that nobody wanted, so you were able to still win with someone that nobody wanted. So as a head coach, why,
But that's just first off. Then you have this new coach come in, and for the first several games, you're watching Peyton Manning under center. When has Peyton ever played under center? He doesn't do that. That's not his game. So that was just dumb. And then they finally brought him off of center, and he started to look better.
He started to look like Peyton. That's why. That's been his game for 15, 16 years, something like that.
Yeah, but when you watch him play, his throws are weak. His spiral isn't there. He's underthrowing, sometimes overthrowing. His accuracy's not there. He does not look like Peyton Manning. And a lot of that has got to be that hand that he's having a hard time feeling, and it's a throwing hand. You're going to have a lot of issues with that.
And it's only going to get worse with colder weather as well.
What I will say, though, is, you want to rate top grade quarterbacks and who's the best quarterback of all time. Here we go. Peyton Manning's doing all this. It looks bad, but he's still being this good and can't feel his hand.
Right. Right now he's an average quarterback, probably below average quarterback when you're looking statistically, but he can't feel his hand.
Yeah.
I mean, tell Aaron Rodgers, tell Tom Brady, go out there with, numb your hand and go try and throw the way that Peyton Manning's doing it. It's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and the thing for Denver is their defense. I mean, their defense is just unreal. Their defensive ends are fantastic. Their backfield's fantastic. They have a great safety. Their line, DeMarcus Ware, who's the other guy over there?
You got Talib in the backfield.
Talib came in, and he's played fantastic. I mean, he's had, 3, 4, I think maybe even 5 picks.
Yeah, and he's one of those players that obviously on the Patriots a couple of years ago, didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
But, that's what happens when contract dispute. You have the Patriots that they really don't pay anybody.
Oh, yeah. No, they don't. They won't keep anybody. But
for someone like Denver to be able to go out there and spend that money, great for them. They wanted to ramp up their defense, and they did so.
They really did, and their defense can win the game, every game. They really can.
Or if anything, at least keep their offense in it long enough to be able to do something. And that's kind of what you're doing right now is you're going to this game defense head first and like, okay, Peyton, like get us, help us out a little bit. Let's get us a couple of throws.
What I think would be interesting, which minus I know no coach or no GM in the history of football is ever going to do it, bench Peyton. Sit him on the bench. Let him take a break. You're in a good spot. Let the young guy come in. Let him get some balls in. If he's not playing great, so be it. You put Peyton back in. But why don't we start? Peyton's done. Peyton's going to be done. He can't do this anymore.
Well, he can't do this for years on end. I mean, you're talking about the only person. It's funny. The only person you really can kind of match him up with is Tom Brady because they've been playing for about the same amount of time. And you look at Tom Brady, and he's like, everyone's talking records. This guy is putting on, a Hall of Fame season right now. And you compare him to really the only other person you can is Peyton Manning because of age, and you see what quarterbacks should be looking like at 39, 40 years old. It's
Absolutely.
not. Favre was 42, 43 or something like that when he finally hung up his cleats and everything, and he was doing similar to what you're seeing Peyton as right now. He's throwing a lot more picks. No offense to Favre, he obviously has the most picks in NFL history.
Yeah.
But I'm saying more in the lines of, he's making mistakes. He's making mental mistakes. He's not hitting his receivers, and that's what you're seeing from Peyton now. And with Favre, it was age. With Manning, it's injury.
Yeah.
And age to boot.
But the thing for me is I'd like to see it's time to start developing who you have coming up. Unless they're saying, you really suck and we're just going to draft somebody and bring
who do they have right now? Who do they have as a backup? And that's the problem with Denver is you don't have a plan B.
Yeah.
Your plan A 3 years ago was we take on Peyton Manning on a whim. We go, maybe he'll work out, maybe he won't. Everything seems to be going great. I remember they were following on ESPN. They were following his car with a helicopter.
Yep.
To North Carolina where they were doing some prep work with him, and they took a chance on him and it worked out. They got to a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Fantastic. That's what you wanted from Peyton Manning. But you also rolled the dice, and it's showing that over time it's not really working out.
No.
But it looks as if they didn't come up with a plan B if this ever does. Their plan B 3 years ago was Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
That was their plan B 3 years ago, and since then, they don't have that backup quarterback that's going to be able to come in and be that next Peyton Manning, and even half of that.
No, the NFL
kind of set themselves in a hole.
The NFL's tough, though. I mean, there just aren't that many. I mean, you're not going to see too many people come up that are Tom Brady. And one of my pet peeves with people who talk about sports is we always want to compare. We always want to compare Tom Brady, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, or any of that. You can't do it. Each player is different. It's a different era. It's a different style of play. And it puts too much on the person who's coming in. You think about Andrew Luck trying to step into Peyton Manning's shoes. Don't compare him. Let him play his game. Let him do it his way and see how it comes out. Don't compare. It's just not worth it. There are so many quarterbacks who have come into this league who are supposed to be that next big thing, which is just like any other sport. But the pressure's too high.
Think of your draft picks these last few years between Robert Griffin III, Jameis Winston doing his thing down in Tampa Bay. No one's really complaining, I think, too much.
Marcus Mariota, who's done well up until the injury.
Right, exactly.
But we go back a little bit further.
Even
Sam
Johnny
Bradford.
Manziel, too. Sam Bradford, Johnny Manziel. I mean, you got these players that they were supposed to be this next big thing, and they're kind of just, most of them are sitting on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to be an NFL quarterback. You don't get a lot of time to prove yourself. You don't get a lot of time to work.
Yeah, that window's so short. And you've seen that over the years with, someone just recently with Ryan Mallett, who was, taken on by the Patriots out of college and, given that backup role, learned from Brady, learned how to do these things, eventually gets shipped off to Houston, and now he's off the team. They've already cut him. I mean,
they cut him for
other
reasons.
But that was a personal reason that the Patriots. You have to think that something that they must have known was a problem with him, because this isn't the first time he's missed practice or missed a flight with Houston. This is, I think, the second offense or so. With this, and when that kind of stuff happens, there's other factors that go into it, not just being a quarterback, but how can you have a team that sees you as a leader if you it doesn't look like you're taking it seriously.
Oh, absolutely.
And that really goes into that short window that these backup quarterbacks have, that you really have to be on your game 100%, more so than the starting quarterback, because the second that you have a chance to prove yourself, you go in. That's what happened with Tony Romo. You got Whedon go in there. Whedon goes in there, wins a game, goes up against the Patriots, and it's like, okay, we kind of finally seeing who Whedon really is. And now it's Matt Castle that has a chance to prove himself. And I think he just did, right, last game, or he hasn't done it yet?
No, they lost. They
lost that game, okay.
They lost that game, but
But I mean, look at that. That's 3 quarterbacks. You have your starter go down, so you have a small window for Whedon. Whedon's window is 2 games. That's how small his window was
yeah.
to be able to prove it, and couldn't do it.
yeah, I
And
mean,
then goes up, and then it's stage left Whedon. Here comes Castle. He's got 1 game. Who knows how long they're going to stick with Castle? And no one really knows what goes on down in Jerry's world.
No.
But I mean, that's a different point. Is how long will it take before Matt Castle is now thought of as, okay, that window's closed, go back to Whedon, go back to Romo,
Yep.
type of thing.
Well, Big Ben's doing the same thing. You know,
Right.
Big Ben goes down, throw Mike Vick in there, looks shaky from the start, wasn't really panning out. Then he happens to get hurt. So now we throw Landry Jones in there, who you didn't want to be your starting quarterback from the get-go. Which personally, looking at the way he played, he's not bad. You know why?
For a third-string quarterback, how can you say he's bad?
He
if
shouldn't
he's
be
a third.
third.
He's a third. But
He
as
should
of right
be
now,
second.
even a second or third-string quarterback, you're not expecting the world.
No.
I hate to keep bringing up. I know I'm a Patriots fan. I'm going to do this for the entirety of the show, and not just today, but forever.
I'll save
But
you
you look
from it.
back at 2008 when Brady went down with injury, and you bring in Matt Castle. We did not expect Matt Castle to go in there and win a Super Bowl.
No.
Would it be great if he did? Sure. And they ended up losing by 1 game or something like that to miss the playoffs. But you had your starting quarterback go down, and your team still went 11-5
Yeah.
with your backup quarterback. You can't ask for more than that
No.
from a backup. So when you're looking at people like Big Ben go down, and you're like, all right, throw Mike Vick in, or now you got Landry. You're not expecting the world. You're just expecting for like panic control. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
let's get everything down. Let's just kind of simmer through until we can get our starting quarterback back, our ace.
Yeah. Backup quarterback is a tough job. I mean, I love the what is it, Verizon commercials with
McCown?
McCown.
Right.
Those crack me up. They have the hardest job by far. They have to have that job of your name may never get called, but it may get called today, and you got to be ready.
Yeah.
You have to be prepped.
I think
for that.
that's really funny of Verizon that they picked. They had all these starting quarterbacks to choose from in the NFL, and they picked McCown, and the most that commercial ever got played, and then Brees sits out with a shoulder injury, and it's like, all right, McCown, you're in it. It's like, I mean, I don't know if that's amazing advertising and marketing by Verizon, or if it was like, holy crap, like our backup is actually playing. So
New Orleans was in on that.
right, yeah,
That was intentional.
Yeah, they got a little fee going to them.
Absolutely,
from Verizon.
I think so. But backup quarterbacks are risky, and when you want to be the next big thing, you got to hit that hole, and you got to shine. You have such a small opportunity, and I think the quarterbacks that do better throughout all of time are those quarterbacks that are a backup for a year or two and then get their opportunity. I see so much with rookie quarterbacks. They come in, they're instant starters with Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota this year. Both have done relatively pretty well, but there's still a lot of stuff for them to work on.
Right.
The NFL
And they're
is
kind
so
of
much
and they're
different.
doing it themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not coming under a quarterback that is able to teach them every little thing. When you had someone like I'm trying to just pick one. Oh, gee, who can I think of? Tom Brady, that comes in. Drew Bledsoe, greatest quarterback in the world? Hell no. I mean, that's not even close. No. Was he their franchise quarterback for the Patriots? Yeah, he already led them to the Super Bowl, and with that defense they had in 01, 02, 03, 04, it talks of like if this defense stays together, they're strong enough that maybe Bledsoe could do it again. But you had that leadership that Brady's able to feed off of. Mm-hmm. And luckily for Brady that he had that defense for those years, because I think if they don't have some of those players in that mix, I mean, Brady, as much as everyone's going to say Brady's the greatest quarterback in the world, at least one of those Super Bowls he didn't deserve an MVP for. No. That defense deserved that MVP for the first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because they almost won it single-handedly with I think it was a fumble return for a touchdown or something like that, but a holding call kind of held that back. That defense was ridiculous.
Oh, it was. And when I think about those things, I think you think about college sports, redshirting. You get that rookie quarterback to come in on your team. You draft him. You think he's going to be your next starting quarterback. Great. Sit him on the bench. Let him learn the game. Let him learn the NFL process, and then get him in there.
Right.
You don't want to be that quarterback that's a backup, nothing but that. And Matt Castle's a great version of that, as he was a backup. Finally started to get some starting opportunities and just did nothing with them. It was past his time to really get there. You don't want them to sit for long, but they gotta have some time to learn and to grow, because the NFL is so much different. Right. Just like any other sport, though. I mean, you go up to the pros, every player is good. Every player is fast. I mean, we're looking at 300-pound linemen that run as fast as I do.
Right.
You know, let's be realistic. You know, and you're not always used to that.
Yeah, I think one of the funniest things that I can remember is when growing up and watching Peyton Manning play, the big joke was always, who's Peyton Manning's backup? We never knew his name. It was like that question mark behind it. And I think that nowadays you're starting to see a little more emphasis on, we kind of need that backup. You're starting to remember some of these names now, because they're coming into play a lot more with injuries and contract talks and stuff like that. So you're starting to learn a little more about the backup role. I think there's a lot of people that know who Jimmy Garoppolo is, regardless that Tom Brady is your starter. You still kind of know who he is because of all, a backup is such an essential spot. And sometimes they even have a dual role. You see a lot of backup quarterbacks. They're also, kick holders, for extra points and stuff like that. So, I mean, believe it or not, we only got like 15 minutes left. Guys, you can call in 527-6449 at any time. 802-527-6449 for people that are outside our coverage area. We'll keep going with our undefeated teams, and that's probably as far as we'll get today. But the Packers, I mean, if I'm a Packers fan right now, I must be so mad that my team is winning pretty handedly, and we're still not considered a number one team. We've got Aaron Rodgers, and we got a pretty good defense, and we're still second fiddle to the Patriots that have had to come back from their games. A couple games,
This is what I'll say about Green Bay, is we spoke earlier about the Patriots, and maybe they're going to run this week, maybe they won't, and maybe you have no idea who they're going to run with. The Packers, they have no idea. I mean, they're nothing but a throwing offense. Eddie Lacy's been a complete joke all year long. Starks, when he's in, he plays well, but it's.
But that was one game. Let's throw it out there on the table. It was one game where all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, I got to get him off waivers.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's one game that Starks blew up, and we got to see Starks from a couple of years ago.
They have no running. Their running team, absolutely dreadful. The Packers are good if they're bombing the ball down the field. That's when they're good. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers cannot beat you throwing checkdowns. They cannot beat you having 10-minute drives. They're going to beat you by those long shots down the field, whether it be Randall Cobb or whether it be James Jones. If they're not getting that, they're not winning the game. Right. That's just not their team. They need those big plays to boost their team.
That's going to be really tough.
Game against Denver, but they're just not going to do it.
Yeah, they're just a little bit. They're matched up a little on the light side here against a Denver defense. That, I mean, Denver went out there and their purpose this offseason was to purchase a defense that's going to shut these passing attacks down.
Well, the thing with Denver is it's not their run defense that's bad or that's good. The running is the one thing you're going to be able to do on them. It's their backfield that's good. It's their pass rushers that are good. So unless Green Bay can find out what they're going to do for a running game, what happened to Eddie Lacy? He was supposed to be so good. I mean, he was first-round draft pick in most fantasy leagues.
Right.
He sucks. He's awful. He's dreadful. Not once have you watched a game where you're going, hey, he looks good. He's coming back to life. Starks, his entire career has been this. I mean, he can be great, but he's no different than
now, he was the running back when they won the Super Bowl, right?
Correct.
Right. But, I mean, you were riding the coattails of Aaron Rodgers. It wasn't the running game at all that they were focused on. So, I mean, you got the Packers this way. This is going to be it's a huge game for so far three of those teams. So, regardless, a team this week, an undefeated, there will only be four at most, because you've got Packers facing Denver, which is going to be an amazing Sunday night game.
Oh, well.
You got the Patriots that are playing against Miami. That's on a short week. That's even scarier. The other two teams, the Bengals, they're going to be at Pittsburgh this week. And there is talk of Big Ben returning.
He's back.
You think he's back?
He's going to be back. He was throwing well on the field last game. He's done a lot of work. He wants to be on that field. He's going to be on that field. Will he be perfect?
But that scares me as a Bengal team and not so much the offense. I mean, it's really fun. I was looking at statistics the other day, and if you compare someone like Tom Brady, they're calling an MVP year, and Aaron Rodgers, and then you put in Andy Dalton into that mix. Andy Dalton's got better numbers than Aaron Rodgers does, and he's almost level with where Tom Brady is. That's scary to think of because he's doing it very quietly because the spotlight's not on him right now.
No, it's not. And I think part of that spotlight's taken away just because they can't win a postseason game. So you can look at the Bengals and go, have a fun regular season. You're never going to go anywhere.
Right.
You know, it's going to end. But, you know, in that particular game, you're looking at if Big Ben comes back, which I truly think he will. You have two teams that love to throw that ball down the field. Bengals have a better defense, and they have a great offense. I think it could be a very interesting game to watch. I'd probably put my money on Cincy sticking it out that week. But in general, you look at all of these undefeated teams. I got my money on the Patriots losing. I'm going to say Denver's going to win. And I would be willing to put money on Cincinnati going down. This is a bad week for undefeated teams.
Right.
It is just ugly.
But I mean, as a fan of football, you gotta love it.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
you got these undefeated teams. Two of them are going up against each other. Another team that's going against a division rival away. But I mean, they might get their star quarterback back, and then you got a little Dalton Big Ben thing going on. Miami and Patriots on the short week at home in Foxborough. I say at home because I'm a Pats fan. And then the last one is the Panthers, and I can't find where the heck they're playing this week. I'll find it eventually.
Who are they playing?
This is what I'm saying. Carolina. I don't have them on my sheet at all. That's fun.
Are they bye week?
Nope, they're not bye week. Oh, no, Monday night game. Okay, so they're playing Indianapolis Monday night. Not too worried about Indianapolis at home on Monday. The Panthers at home on a Monday against Indianapolis, against a team that is so unproven.
Carolina, I'm going to say this right now, is the biggest dark horse in the NFL right now.
You've said that to me, behind camera type of
Exactly.
thing, where this defense, if you ever get a second just to watch 10 minutes of this defense play, do it because they're a lot of fun to watch.
J.J. Watt gets so much credit for being the player he is. Now, minus I am going to say J.J. Watt is probably the best defensive player in the NFL, bar none. Luke Kuechly is younger. He's quicker. He's dynamic. I think their offense has some things to work out, but I think they have a pretty easy schedule going forward.
That's obvious with a team like Indy this week.
Indy's just a mess. I mean, Sam Bradford. Andrew Luck is he is hurt. The fact he's playing makes no sense to me. They are weak. They have so much to work on. This is an awful week for undefeated teams. It is not going to be good for most.
If you had to look at all of them, you're pretty much saying that Carolina is going to be that undefeated team that's going to come out 7-0 or whatever it is. After week 8.
I think Denver and Carolina are going to be the only undefeated teams after this week. And I think the only team that has a chance of staying undefeated is Carolina.
Yeah. And that's really scary to think of because when you think of like the undefeated teams of NFL, and you look at Carolina and you go, really? That could be an undefeated team, and you look at they win this week at 7-0. They don't have many games. They got a little more than a half a season rest to go. So and they're going to play most of those teams another time.
Yep.
So it's scary for, like you said, for the undefeated teams this year. I'm hoping that obviously my Patriots go on another So we got about 5 minutes or so to talk about. We can do a little fantasy real quick. Like I said, John's never really steered me wrong so far. So why don't you give me your top players for this week? We'll just for if you're doing like a fan duel, you're doing like a fantasy, or if you happen to be doing fantasy football, in your own league.
I think there's a couple of good players to really focus on. If you've got Tom Brady, play him. When it comes to DraftKings and that kind of stuff, he's a little bit expensive for that. Matt Ryan, here's a player who has all the ability. I think he could have a really great week this week against Tampa Bay. He would be a great start. Running backs, Devonta Freeman. If you are not picking him in every one of your lineups, you're an idiot. Get off the game. This guy is this guy's MVP this year. He really is. This guy is catching 7 games a week. He's rushing for over 100 yards a week. He's got 10 touchdowns. You can't stop this kid. He's fantastic. I think Julian Edelman, great start this week. I think he'll be fantastic against Miami. And Keenan Allen, another great week for him. If you want to go to Calvin Johnson, he might be able to light it up out there. Stafford might come to life. He's a little bit more of a risk, but high reward. Kansas City's D, not that great, and they're not great against receivers. Mark Ingram, great play this week. Todd Gurley, if you haven't seen this kid run, he's fantastic. He's really good. And your best tight ends out there, yeah, you can start Gronk, whatever. He's expensive in all the FanDuels and DraftKings. Tyler Eifert, Antonio Gates, if you got him, you got to start him.
I picked up Gates in mine, and I picked him up coming off his injury, and I'm like, you know what? Why not? Like, he's coming off injury, maybe he's going to blow up and be good. And he ended up getting like 2 touchdowns that day, 10 catches type of thing. I mean, and he was a great bet because he was so cheap.
Oh, yeah.
So
super cheap.
And he puts up numbers like that.
Last week he was hurt, so LaDainian Green played, and he was super cheap. If Gates plays, you got to play him. If Gates doesn't play, you got to play Green.
Well, him and Phillip Rivers, they have such a connection, and they have over the years,
Oh, absolutely.
too. So, I mean,
Phillip loves tight ends. I mean, that's his chemistry. I mean, same thing goes with Travis Kelce is, what's his name? Talk about a name blank.
Oh, for Kansas City?
Yeah.
Smith.
Alex Smith. He loves tight ends. So if you've got a team that loves your tight end, play him.
Gotcha.
You know, Tyler Eifert, he's been on a roll since he's got a tough game. Play him. He's gonna get it.
Yeah, they're playing Detroit this year with Kelce. So I mean, and you got that Detroit team that is completely unproven.
Oh yeah.
Especially losing a couple of their defensive stars. So we only got a couple minutes left. Sorry if you were trying to get a call in, or if you didn't, or if you're just sitting back and wait until next week, that's fine too. 527-6449 is the phone number here for next week. If you'd want to come join us via voice on Huddle Up. We've talked a little international. We've talked undefeated. I'm excited to see Big Ben back in the mix because I think Pittsburgh is a better team. He's obviously a better team with them, but he's a lot more fun to watch as well, especially with someone like Bryant and Brown. And I'm sure Brown is dying to get Big Ben back because before it was the Antonio Brown show. Now it's like, hey guys, I'm over here, type of thing.
And now you add Bryant into that mix, and it's a whole nother.
Those are two crazy offensive weapons. We've talked a little bit of short week. I'm not a fan of it. It really depends. We got another, like I said, we got about a minute left. Just to give you a little more background about the show, we kind of started it up because we wanted to give a different feel to sports talk, TV, I guess, and online if you're in Franklin County. The best, another show that's been on for, I think, 13, 14 years will be on tonight at 8 o'clock, the best damn sports show in Franklin County. You can watch them as well. They're about an hour and a half, and I mean, it gives you a little bit of sports talk.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows too, is we're doing more than just football. And
yeah,
we happen to just talk.
We happen to go
today.
on a little rant about football, and that's just what it is today. But yeah, we'll get into a little more things. We want to talk a little local sports, and we'll do that next week. So I want to thank everyone for joining us on Huddle Up. I'm Paul. He's JT, and we'll see you in a week. So thank you.